Today we're gonna see what would happen in GTA 5 had Michael's family never left him in the early part of the storyline. How we would achieve this is Michael would never go with Jimmy to meet his friend, preventing the whole Michael driving high incident. But honestly, aside from that, not much would change at first, but things would start to change when Michael would fall out with Martin Madrazo, and this is actually the time where Michael's relationship with his family would get better. First of all, he'd immediately call them, tell them to go into hiding for a little while, somewhere away from Los Santos, and during this time he'd call them a lot to check in on them and see how they're doing and whatnot. As more time passes with Michael being on the run, family and him would realize not only their mistakes from earlier, but how much they miss living together, because in the original, this is what set off that sort of switch of how he misses family. In this reality, they haven't really cut off contact like they did in the original with him. That realization hits all of them just as much, if not even more so, because like they were kind of ignoring his calls in the original. If you remember, that wouldn't really happen here. What we would see happen here is they would actually take his calls and they'd talk constantly and whatnot. So that would be that necessary push for them to fix their relationship and whatnot. So I imagine we would still here and there get a few more scenes with Michael on the phone in Trevor's trailer, with him actually talking to his family instead of just leaving voicemails like we see in that one cutscene. Things would stay the same going forward until after the monkey business mission, when Michael would inform his family that they, all himself included, are able to come back home. And now relationship wise, I think they would be at the level that we see them at in the reuniting the family mission, or after it, with the atmosphere being far less hostile than it was earlier. Prep work begins for the big one and everything seems the same. That is until Trevor shows up to Michael's house and asks about Brad. Now keep in mind, Michael's family at this point is at home, they're living with him, and Trevor, being him, would just cause a scene, keep yelling at Michael about Brad, to which Amanda would just snap, yell back at Trevor and tell him to get the fuck out of their house and never come back. And Trevor's getting progressively angrier, and even though he never hurt Michael's family, Michael sees that Amanda's visibly shaken up, and simply because no one knows what Trevor's about to do, he just decides to go pull the nuclear card, as they say, and he breaks the silence and finally tells Trevor the full truth. And here we get a monologue from Michael, who would explain everything, the things that Amanda didn't even know about the deal. And eventually, by the time Michael's close to finishing the story, Tracy and Jimmy would show up downstairs and just listen. And after Michael finally says everything that he has to say, Trevor would have this sort of moment of realization, the same one he originally has during Michael and Trevor's final hangout after the game ends. And he'd take a brief look at Amanda, Michael, then the kids, and realize that back there in that moment 10 years ago, everyone who was going to die had Michael not done something. He'd still be disappointed, not because of Brad, but because Michael planned to have him killed, and he'd just walk out. No more scenes, no losing his shit for once. He'd actually understand Michael's position without any of his arrogant remarks, which he is known for. This prevents the whole situation with the Chinese and also allows Michael to go on the Pac-Man mission with Franklin, Lamar, and Trevor, and there probably would be a bit of tension between them still, but this would be the official introduction of Michael to Lamar, more importantly. Trevor would then go back to Sandy Shores because recently he noticed that he's been followed here and there by the Triads, and he'd lay low sort of off the grid for a few weeks while Michael and Franklin do the FIB raid. And we'd see him again during the wrap-up mission, running in to save Michael's ass, and the gang would get back on track on working towards the big one. They'd also save Lamar, and Michael would still face issues with Devin Weston. Speaking of Lamar, maybe he would be involved in the big one in this reality because he had met Michael, and maybe he'd just kind of get some sort of smaller role in the heist. I imagine that would be pretty cool. The big one would go off smoothly, however. Nothing really changes as for the big one, but what does change is the final mission. The final mission wouldn't involve anyone killing Wei Cheng because Trevor didn't see them as that big of a threat in this reality. They didn't follow him and Michael to North Yankton here because they didn't go back there in the first place, and also they never kidnapped Michael, so Franklin was never really aware of them. He does mention them in the original and the final mission, but he was never aware of them in this reality. And in the end, Trevor would occasionally get followed or even ambushed on a few occasions by the Chinese, but he'd deal with that on his own until they'd eventually fuck off because, I mean, it's Trevor. Him going on a rampage is nothing new. But with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video. This has been a what if that really changed kind of Michael's family dynamic a bit. Things happened a little bit earlier. Major changes, of course, to bury the hatchet. It would probably just be a cutscene if I'm honest. But for the most part, everyone got off okay. Michael met Lamar, which hasn't happened in a few of these recent what ifs, so I guess that's a cool change. But with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video. Leave your thoughts and opinions of this what if in the comments down below. Also, leave some of your what if suggestions in the comments as well, and if I like them enough, I'll do them in a future future video. Until next video stream, bye bye.